and welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys.
Here we are, Book 21, The Threat.
Woo!
Yeah, are we excited? This is the second book in the trilogy. So if you weren't here for the episode where we did the first book, then you need to leave and go listen to that episode. Because I'm not going to put 20. A lot of work. Yeah, that was book 20. I'm not going to put a lot of work into catching people up here, I don't think.
Yeah, no, this isn't like a Chronicles book here. We're not going to do a recap for you.
Yeah. There's honestly even less excuse to do a recap in a Chronicles.
And guess what?
What?
Oh, this book came out in August 1998, and it's August 2023 right now.
Ooh, same
which means
month
it's
book.
The 25th anniversary of this book.
Damn. So
how about that?
Oh, that's interesting. August, huh? What day in August do we know?
That's what all our listeners are saying too. That's interesting. No, Seropedia does not say the date. I don't know if there was did the Animorphs always come out the first week, the first Wednesday or something? I don't know about book releases.
Yeah, I cannot remember. Well, this is interesting to me because this would have been the first book that I waited on, right? Like, after I was like, okay, I bought the current book, I need to buy the next book when it comes out. It would have been this book. And little tidbit for our listeners, I'm an August birthday boy, so I'm wondering, I don't know, do I think maybe I had a little Animorphs birthday? I don't remember having one.
Well, that's a whole episode, is us planning our Animorphs book day birthdays.
Right.
But that's all, folks. Sorry, I was distracted because I was trying to look up what day books come out, and it turns out it's Tuesday.
Okay, that's helpful.
Well, I wanted to know because, like video games usually come out on a Friday, and movies always come out on Friday. Well, video games have kind of shifted over the years, actually. I think some of them come out on different days, but Nintendo games always come out on Fridays. I know that much. I think they usually come out on Fridays now. Anyway, I don't know. I just wondered if there was a book day, and I'm an illiterate goob. So I didn't know. Now I know. Now we all learned something.
We all learned something.
I've never, other than a Harry Potter book, sorry for bringing it up. I don't think I've ever, anticipated a book release, to be honest with you. I guess now, I'm anticipating the winds of winter, but I've always just heard about a book after the fact. I can't ever remember being like, oh, that book's coming out on this day. I don't know. Is that weird?
Yeah. I mean, I can't. This shows how fucking illiterate and plebeian we both are here, because for me, it was Animorphs. I was always anticipating the next Animorphs book when I was a kid, but since that I have no clue.
Yeah, we're losers. We suck. But you know who's not a loser?
Who?
Were we done? I like, it's nice. We know this is this book you anticipated. Was there anything else you wanted to say about that to wrap it up? I don't want to cut you off.
Nah, not really.
All right, good. But because I just did want to cut you off because we are going to have to really try our best not to go too long today.
Oh boy. Because
we do have, I know it doesn't happen every episode, so it's special, a little bit of sharing to do.
Sharing. Now, you actually mentioned this to me a week ago because at least one of these came in while we were recording last week. And yes. I wanted to just say, write your email an hour earlier, just an hour earlier, and it could have been taken care of already.
And that episode could have been 2 hours and 45 minutes instead of 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Right. Exactly.
You could have made that happen like you will this week. Well, anyway, it's time. For the record, we record on Sundays. Usually, although that may change. That may be shooken up soon, but we aren't talking about that today.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a later episode.
Let's share.
Okay, hit that jingle. The sharing.
Good jingle.
All right, we have 2 emails today from listeners. 2 people. 2. That's right. 2. By the way, I don't respond to these emails. I just assume they'll hear our response on the air, but is it kind of awkward or rude if that I don't actually write back and say, "Hey, thanks for writing"?
I don't think so.
If you feel it's rude, then write again and let me know, and I will read that on the air. Spam Viking returns. Our friend Spam Viking, who you may recall gave us positive feedback. No, friend of the show is when it's like someone who's been on the show. That's the podcast term.
It's
lingo.
Still a friend of the show.
Okay, fine.
They love us.
Fine.
We're friends now.
I feel like we need don't we need a word for it, like our yerk heads out there. All the yerk heads.
I'll work on that.
Okay, you work on that.
Controllers.
Spam Viking. I feel like we got to try to make it more specific to our show because there's 800 Animorphs podcasts. So maybe we just call them bad people.
We really need to get to this letter.
Spam Viking says, "Let me begin by saying I think you're still..." Well, listen, let me warn you, because our fans like us are a bit long-winded. Spam Viking says, "Let me begin by saying I think you're still doing an admirable job with the podcast. Keep up the good work, etc." Feels like a step down. Feels like he's holding back some praise there. I don't know. I can't. So he wants to talk about book 19, which you'll recall is the departure.
Yes,
which we loved.
We did.
And we weren't sure if other people loved it. Spam Viking says, "Can't really comment on the popularity of the book in the wider fandom because I am fundamentally a weird loner who shuns human contact." I wouldn't know what that's like. But I like book 19 a lot. You guys did a nice job getting into the conversation between Cassie and Aftran. I have to agree that Cassie would have been in serious trouble if, say, Jake or / Tom's yerk from book 6 showed up instead. Temrash, what's his name?
114.
God, I thought I was going to stump you on that. God damn.
You don't even know. I could have just made that up.
You're right. Or really any other yerk we've met in the series for that matter. I do agree it's possible and maybe even likely that Cassie's power of super empathy allowed her to have some kind of special insight that let her give Aftran the benefit of the doubt, based on her affection for her brother that set this whole adventure in motion. We've seen 2 instances of yerk friendship causing controllers to behave contrary to orders, kind of at odds with the buggy nature of their reproduction. I don't think it's ever mentioned how many infant yerks are created out of the 3 parents, but I'd like to think it's 13. Sure. It's pretty clear that yerks pick up a lot from their hosts. Aftran's kind of dumb, or at least impulsive, but at the same time more sensible than any yerk we've seen so far. She goes after the Andalite bandit that killed her brother with a half-baked revenge scheme, armed with a gun she can barely use. Trying for this action thriller movie plot in Karen's 6-ish-year-old body is a fun image. Karen, and he says, Karen can't be older than that if she didn't know how caterpillars and butterflies work, right? That's a strong argument.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you learn about that pretty young.
Yeah, that's like everyone in elementary school, right? You had some kind of, you must have done this in your class, right? Where you like get caterpillars or something.
Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah. If it hadn't been for Joe Exotic's Lost Puma or whatever, the war would be over using the advanced technology of following the terrorists home. Sorry to ramble on. Keep up the good work. Really looking forward to the next arc. Congratulations on your continued success.
Hell yeah. We're successful. They should have their own podcast. These are good thoughts.
There's a postscript.
Oh, yeah.
P.S. Feel free to use as much or as little of the above as you like. Guess what? I used it all, bitch. I don't know when you guys actually record new eps. Now you do. So it could all be out of date by now. I don't mind in the slightest. Also, I cut out most of my cringy fan theories on yerk biology. You're welcome. Well, I hope we get those in a separate email. I did consider saving this email for our season 2 recap, but then I was like, no. If someone sends an email, we're going to read it when it comes. I don't care what the content is.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, any larger thoughts on this email? We're not the only ones who are fans of book 19. But
yeah, that's great to know. Because, like, To be honest, I don't have a great picture of what the wider fan community looks like. I'm kind of piecing things together. And I felt like I had seen like mixed reviews, like some people didn't and some people loved it, but maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe this is just a universally beloved book.
Yeah, could be.
I,
Hard to
I
say.
would be happy to know that because I think it's really good.
Same
Yeah,
here.
and Spam Viking, I do like all of your thoughts on it. I think that yeah, I don't know. I think that was good. I'm glad that we have that on the air. I'm glad that we can pass off that content as ours.
That's how it works. That's how it works. That's ours
Outsource
now.
some thinking.
You made this? I made this. All right. Next up, we have an email that I think is longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
This one comes from Nick, no last name. And Nick points out, listen, I understand that Google is going to dry snitch and show my full name. Just pretend not to see it. I'm too lazy to go around creating fake email addresses to write to podcasts. Nick, I'm honoring your request. That goes for anyone out there. We'll call you whatever you want to be called.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's important. We don't want the Yerks to find you.
Nick says, that's right. Yeah, obviously. Nick says, hi, Yerky boys. That's us. Recently, isn't it funny when you just make some shit up and now someone's calling you that like it's real? It's not a real thing. We just said that. You bought it? All right. Recently, I started to reread Animorphs. I was a big fan as a child and decided to read the series as an adult for the first time. When I was a kid, somehow I was the only person who read Animorphs, so I never got a chance to talk to anyone about the books. I didn't want to feel like a weirdo reading these children's books by myself. I looked for podcasts about the books and happened upon this one.
Wow.
I am glad there are other adult weirdos out there, so I don't feel alone. The Yerky Boys podcast has been fun to listen to. The recurring bit where you discuss the book cover for 30 minutes is exceptionally good. Just want to pause there. I think it's very generous that he refers to that as a bit. As if it's a conscious bit of comedy on our parts.
Yeah, we're not doing that by mistake. That's we intentionally thought that would be funny. We aren't just terrible at pacing ourselves.
All right, now let's get into the good stuff here.
Yeah.
One thing that occurred to me while reading Megamorphs 2 and listening to your discussion on Megamorphs, when you wonder why these kids keep getting caught in Sario Rips, and I have a theory. It's not Elemist shit. It's Z-space. My theory is that when an explosion of significant proportions happens in the vicinity of Z-space event, this creates a Sario Rip. It explains why they all went to the land of dinosaurs when the normal humans in the sub didn't. It also explains how they got back to their own time when the comet hits at the end of the book. In both cases, they're all morphed. In Jake's book with the Sario Rip, they're not all morphed, and this is admittedly where the theory breaks down. My only conclusion is that maybe because the Blade ship is Z-space capable, that they go back in time. It also could be that K.A. Applegate did explain this at some point, and I'm a fucking idiot. Nick, please don't use that kind of language on our show. It's for kids. I haven't read the series since I was between 9 and 13, and I'm coming back to the series as fresh as possible. I haven't gone searching for her comments on the books, and I won't do so until I'm finished. I want my vague memories of the nonsense coming to remain vague until I have that aha moment as things get revealed to me. Let's pause here before we get into volume 2 of this email. How do you feel about that theory? Does that hold water for you?
I like that theory. Do you remember, because one of the things that made Jake Sario Rip special was that, as far as I remember, he was the only one who was real, including all of the Yerks. So if he was morphed, then that would hold completely for that. But I don't actually remember if he was morphed when he went back or not.
Probably not, because didn't they all demorph to use the controls in the ship?
Yeah, but they were in a ship.
Yeah, they were in the ship.
Might have been Z. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. I like the idea. I think you should bring that to Axe because, like, he doesn't really know since he wasn't paying attention, but he could, maybe if you give him a theory, he could reverse engineer some Z-space n-dimensional calculus shit and figure it out.
Oh, hold on a sec. Let me get him. Oh, hello, low, Axe here. I heard you have something to tell me, Prince Will. Ill?
Don't call me Prince.
Gotta go. Okay, he didn't have time to answer the question.
Okay.
Nick continues, I'll be starting the Hork-Bajir Chronicles sometime this week. He's ahead of us, which is, we don't recommend that because I don't like that. He says, in the meantime, I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the David trilogy. I can already hear the laughing cries as you dive into books 2 and 3. You'll hear some of them today. We'll see. He also says, non-Animorphs wise, he says, since you guys are off Twitter/X/Threads, there is the alternative social media drama machine Blue Sky, currently invite only. Codes should be easy to find at this point. I have a couple currently. He didn't give them to us, so I don't know if he's like, we got a bag or what, Nick. And he says, Blue Sky is actually why I started reading Animorphs again, because there was one night where a bunch of Animorphs-related memes took over the site. So, what do you think?
There was like a wave of Animorphs content that came through Twitter as well.
I remember that Kotaku article.
I do remember that Kotaku article. Yeah, it feels like there've been like waves of Animorphs interest where like there's like a flash where everyone talks about it and then it goes away and then it comes back and then it goes away.
Yeah. That's why we struck gold, baby. I told you, it's in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
That's why we're getting 2 emails in the same week.
2 emails and like 30 whole listeners.
Actually, I mean, we're up to 40 in most of our average episodes right now.
Wow.
If you're one of the 40 out there, I don't know what that means. Anyway, Nick closes. Looking forward to this series and your discussions getting weirder as this series goes off the rails a bit. It's not now. It's going to get more off the rails. He also says, as always, fuck Seropedia.
He's right. Listen, I can't confirm or deny how on the rails it stays because that I don't want to spoil your experience, John, but
thank you for that. These people are our people. If you somehow are reading Animorphs right now and found our podcast and you like it,
yeah, right?
Then we should be best friends with you because there aren't that many people like you. I think that's pretty much like, that's a good, if you can listen to multiple episodes of this show and have a good time.
Yeah, for like 2 hours apiece.
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance that we have a lot in common.
Yeah, if you can stand to be around us that long. These are really good.
That's remarkable. Yeah, we love all these emails. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Spam Viking. Yeah, good theories, good thoughts, good comments. We loved it. And thanks for making our show even longer.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Listen, Animorphs readers are smart. Like they're verbose because they know good word.
That's true.
Like us. You got to include us in that if you're saying that.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not so much.
So maybe today we'll only spend 20 minutes on the cover.
Yeah, we'll try to rush through this book. I don't know. I have some comments on this cover though.
Yeah, well, tell me what it is.
All right. Well, let's
the sharing closing bumper.
Yes, thank you for all of that sharing. All right, so on this cover we have Jake morphing into a dog, specifically Homer the dog, who, as you recall, is Jake's dog. Now we can talk about this dog in a second, but there's something very important on my copy here.
Oh,
which is there's a little thing on it that says watch Animorphs on Nickelodeon, and then in the corner of that it says TV. I'm not sure if it's supposed to say watch TV, Animorphs on Nickelodeon, watch Animorphs TV on Nickelodeon. Don't know where that TV is supposed to come in. But I don't think this was on the last book. And as I recall, this is going to appear on most of the books going forward, even after the series ends.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. There is nothing worse to me. I will refuse to buy a book if it says now a major motion picture. Fuck off. I do not want that shit branded on my book. And the worst is when they just make it the cover of the movie is the cover of the book. Blech.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
Horrible. I will never buy that fucking book. Get the fuck out of here with that.
I legitimately do need another copy of Lord of the Rings for that exact reason, because mine is from when I was a kid and it was just whatever was cheap, so it's got like a shot of a Black Rider from the movie on it.
That is so sad.
Yeah, every time I walk into a bookstore, I'll see some like, $90 tome of Lord of the Rings that's some beautiful hardcover, and I'm like, I can't, can I? I have to though, right? And I haven't done it yet.
You do have to. I have nice Lord of the Rings because I think my mom or dad gave me their copies. They're not like super fancy, but they do have a look of olden times about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah, although last time I read it, I just read the digital version. But anyway.
Yeah.
So what were we talking about?
We're talking about Jake turning into this dog.
Right. Well, anyway, it's good. I think that series, last time we saw an ad for it was somewhere in the book, and I believe it said this fall. So I wonder if it did launch in August, or if they're just getting ready for the September. It makes most shows start in September, so
yeah, I would think it would be a September release. Although, I mean, we could look that up, or we could wait until we were ready to talk about the show.
I don't want to ruin the surprise of that one.
Okay, that makes sense. I see. I have PDFs of these books too, and on the PDF it doesn't have this little thing. So I wonder if there are alternate covers available. No clue.
Yeah, because like in my ebooks, it does show the cover, and on Seropedia, they have the regular cover without that thing. So
interesting.
Yeah. Somebody finally was like, "Hey, this show is not on TV anymore. Remove the part that says TV."
Stop printing that.
So Jake's turning into a dog. Once again, like Marco, he's standing proudly with his t-shirt tucked in with a belt to his pants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess that's not that weird, but there is something very cheesy to me about tucking in your t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm like not even noticing that. I mean, he's got a Superman pose going on.
He does. He also has a blue overshirt, which is unbuttoned. Overshirt? Is that what you would call it? A button-down shirt over his t-shirt, but it looks way too big or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it goes down like past his ass.
He looks like Hey Arnold right now.
He does kind of look like Hey Arnold. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that they've like done studies and like standing in the Superman pose like increases your pain tolerance or something. It's weird.
Huh. All right. Next time Mistress is whipping me, I'll remember that.
I think he looks dashing here.
Sure, he looks dashing.
I'm only just noticing this now, actually. His hands in the second pose, like he's moving them forward like he's gonna fall on them. They look weird. Do they not look weird to you?
A little. Maybe it's the foreshortening, perhaps.
Perhaps. Good word. That's our word of the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like a Juja. Yeah. They're a little bit weird looking. Well, they're starting to turn into paws, so that's why.
Yeah, it gives me pause for sure.
Understood. And I like his hair, which just looks straight up like Lego man hair. Like that, even in every version of this morph, that hair just pops right off. That's one clean piece.
Yes, I agree with that.
What would you call that haircut? Because it's not really a bowl cut, but it's certainly a 90s boy cut.
Yeah, I was going to say 90s.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas haircut.
Yeah. I don't really know the names of haircuts. I'm not, fashion oriented like that.
What was the name of the not Jonathan Taylor Thomas? Jeremy Jason Javette?
Jeremy Jason. How come I can't figure this out?
McLimerson?
That's very close. Why the hell can't I think of this?
Jeremy. Jeremy McJeremy. All right. It doesn't matter. Anyway, he's turning. Are you looking it up or?
I was gonna, but okay. Honestly, this is more important.
Okay, I didn't know if I should vamp while you were looking it up, but I guess we'll keep going. He's turning into a dog, and He really, you know what he looks like to me is Mr. Peanut Butter from BoJack Horseman.
McCole.
Okay, thank
Jeremy
you.
Jason McCole. But yeah, no, I get that. I get those vibes on here for sure. Especially, yeah, especially in like the second to last pick, where he's just barely not dog-like in his face.
Yeah.
Like you go to the
weird.
middle, it's too much like a character from the Goofy movie or something.
Oh, totally is. Yeah. He looks like a goof. Yeah.
That's for sure. Do you think that maybe it would have been better if they called this book The Treat?
Yeah, I do think that.
He's turning into a dog, you see?
Yeah, that's what Homer thinks it's called. It's like, what? The treat?
The Treat?
I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
They could have called it The Threat if they just mispronounced it.
So, like, if this was the last book in the trilogy, it could have been The Threat.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, see, now I'm thinking.
Is it too early to talk about the fact that Jake is a dog for about 10 minutes in this book?
You can if you want.
But they decided to put him on the cover because they're like, I don't know, did we already do a dragonfly or something? Why isn't that the cover?
Yeah, listen, they gotta put a cute dog. I don't think they've had any like cute dogs on the covers yet.
Yeah, I guess not. They didn't have a dog yet, even though that happens in the first book. They picked the shitty lizard.
Yeah, and then in book 10, they instead of being an Irish setter, Marco was a spider.
Yeah, they should have gone dog in the first book. I want to see the 8 dog heads. Oh, we didn't even say the quote.
No, we didn't get to the quote yet.
There's just too much to discuss. The newest Animorph has a secret, and it's not good.
Now these outer covers, these last two, they've been, I don't know, like they've been teasers rather than the standard cover quote.
That's true. Yeah, they really make you want to open it up and find out what's going on, and they also kind of spoil that there's a newest Animorph.
Well, I mean, I don't know that was from last book. You're supposed to know.
What if I look at them out of order by accident? What if I'm reading them out of order by accident?
You shouldn't be reading this one out of order.
You really shouldn't. You really should not.
Like I said, I do recall there being a lot of like extra outside whatever going on. And, so like you were aware as a kid that, hey, there's a trilogy, there's a newest Animorph, get hype.
It is kind of a lot to, if you don't know what this book series, not only do you have to understand what an Animorph is, you need to now know there's a new one.
Yeah. Look, they're in the middle of something right now.
And speaking of which, the inside cover, because it's in the middle of the pages, this one's quote says, Jake's really gone to the dogs.
Now, and last episode, last episode, I said some stupid shit, and you were like, be careful, that's going to be the next inside cover. And it was not stupider than that.
Well, I actually think this is one of the better ones.
I mean, I do like it, but it is really dumb.
But here's the thing, he does turn into a dog. That is a phrase that you can kind of use both ways. Like there's a logic to it as opposed to just if it was like, oh, dog gone it or something, there's a little more to it.
I'm not sure there's that much more to it.
Okay, maybe my standards have fallen so low.
It's better than this is no snake in the grass. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's just, I gotta give them credit. I gotta let them know when they do it right so they can continue doing this. And our inside picture here is we find out, guess where Homer's at? In front of Cassie's barn.
Cassie's barn. And there's Cassie in there too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not often you see another Animorph in these inside covers.
Yeah, at least not like in non-animal form.
And I don't know if they just grabbed that Cassie from another cover or not. Or they might have had other familiar photos. Yeah, I'm sure when these kids come, they have a ton of leftover photos.
Yeah, David Mattingly here.
Ooh, I would buy a book, like a coffee table book that just had all the covers blown up, but then it had extras of the pictures they didn't use.
That would
That'd
make
be.
you a huge loser if you had that.
Oh shit! I better not buy it then. That's the last thing I need.
Yeah, you wouldn't want anyone to think you were a loser who reads Animorphs as an adult and has a podcast about them.
No. There's also a chicken in the corner of this cover. It's way too late. This chicken should be in the coop. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number
I
two, I
mean,
like the way. Yeah.
it might just not go in. You know, I lived at a house once with chickens, and they would often just refuse to go in for the night.
You got to put those chickens in. They're gonna get got by a fox.
Yeah, one of them did get got by, I think it was
Well,
actually a
that's what
coyote, but
happens.
yeah, it is what happens. The stupid chickens will like go up in a tree and refuse to come down, and you'd be like, fine, fuck it, you want to be in that tree all night, you can be in that tree all night, but don't come down, don't come squawking outside my room at 3 a.m. while you're getting murdered, and then I wake up and think I'm having a nightmare because something died outside.
You're a monster. Something did die outside.
Something did die outside. Yeah, no, that was freaking scary. I remember that.
Anyway, I like this chicken because it's cut off halfway and it looks like it might be some kind of a corgi chicken. Like its body could keep going very long past the edge.
Yeah, I could see that.
You can kind of see its head, but I like to imagine that it's just like a very long chicken with 4 legs on the ground.
This is a really good thought. I'm glad we're expanding on the corgi chicken.
Yeah, other podcasts about Animorphs they probably be in chapter 8 by now. Because they're not giving you what you really want, which is the cover analysis.
And
only
now that
the
we
Yerky
know,
boys.
Now that we've got the listener feedback and we know that's the favorite part of the podcast.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're honing in on this. We're hammering in.
Yeah,
they're
gonna get even longer.
Hopping down. We're hunking on.
Right.
All right. That's all I have to say to you.
That is all I have to say about that. Now, I did want to mention about this dedication
Forrest
page
Gump over here. Yeah.
It says, now it has the standard, of course, the Michael and Clara thing, but it also says for Miles and Coleman. I have no clue who these people are. Seropedia didn't tell me anything. I did some brief searches for like Miles and Coleman along with like Animorphs and K. Applegate. I have no clue who Miles and Coleman are. So we got a mystery.
Coleman?
Yes.
Maybe like it's Olivia Coleman.
Could be. This will be a question for K. Applegate when she comes on the podcast.
Maybe Miles is Miles Teller.
Or Miles Prower.
Yeah, it could be him. All right. So I guess we could start talking about the book.
Yeah, so, it didn't spend a half hour on the cover, just, the sharing and the cover.
This is your fault, listeners. This is your fault.
This is what you wanted. All right. So, not to recap too much, but, if you recall, they were bugs, they were cockroaches specifically, and they were falling out of a helicopter. Now, so they're falling out of this helicopter, and Rachel and Tobias catch them out of the air. So, yay, they're saved, right? This is not a big deal. This happens almost immediately. Really could have just whatever.
Whatever.
It's fine. Moving on. So they land on the beach. David is naked because he hasn't learned how to morph clothes yet. They send Tobias out for clothes for him and then also for seagulls so that they can surveil the area while blending in because Tobias and David do not have seagull morphs yet. So they're checking out the area. They're checking out the resort, which, as you recall, all the world leaders are here to talk about the Middle East. So, there's security guys everywhere, all over the place. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get in. Looks airtight. But one of these security guys is a Yerk, and he is watching the birds. He's there to watch for Andalites in morph. So he has some, Dracon beam attached to his sunglasses, and he's zapping all the birds at a low level just so that it hurts like fuck, and they'll fly away when he zaps them. So the Animorphs, not to be too suspicious, they have to wait for him to zap them before they fly off. So that's a couple chapters I covered here.
I have a lot to say about this.
I do too. So,
first of all, I pity anyone if they really did jump into the middle of this trilogy without context, because you're going to be so lost and confused reading this.
Yeah, there's so much going on in this.
No amount of Exposition K Applegate tries to fit in naturally can help you at this point.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's going on. I did think in the beginning here, cockroach falling, that could be like a new, safe but thrilling form of skydiving. You don't need a parachute. True. You don't need training or anything. You just turn into a cockroach, jump down, you survive. Is that true? Can a cockroach survive falling from any height?
I would not be surprised. I did not look this up, but I know you hate the word ratio, but like surface area to mass ratio, they probably have enough air resistance they don't reach terminal, or their terminal velocity is not terminal for them. I wouldn't be surprised.
The word ratio?
Listen, you're the kind of guy, every time someone brings up a math term, you're like, okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah, the rest of what you said was very boring, and I didn't understand it, and it made me angry. But ratio is fine. That's like on Twitter when you get ratioed.
Okay, that's fair.
Rachel's got good hawk reflexes, huh? She catches them all.
Eagle, but yes.
Whatever. Same bird.
Don't tell Tobias that.
Yeah, I really like... I mean, there's a lot here. Let's first some general things just about the plot that maybe will help us recap where we are right now. First of all, we continue talking about the blue box. I don't remember them ever calling it that before this trilogy. I mean, I know we didn't talk about it that much. I thought it was always, isn't it a cube? Did they not ever refer to it as a cube, or am I just thinking about the Tesseract?
They might have called it. I don't think they've referred to it maybe at all since book 1. Maybe in like a recap?
Yeah, they had to when they say like Elfangor made us touch a thing.
Yeah.
But it's just it's so weird to me to call it the blue box. Makes it sound so pedestrian, like it's just a box. I don't know.
Just keep calling it the Escafil device. Axe told us what it's called.
The cube, the blue cube. Sounds cooler. And this meeting that they're trying to infiltrate is so funny to me. Again, we already knew about the details really, but I'm just taking it all in here. Japan, the United States, Russia, Germany, England, and France are meeting in secret to help with the Middle East. No Middle East representatives apparently are invited or informed about this meeting.
Yeah, it is not lost on me that no representatives from any country in the Middle East are here at this meeting to work out what to do about all the problems.
This feels so much like an 8-year-old's idea of like, I know, like it's the Justice League will meet together to go come up with they'll have a whiteboard and write out ideas to stop the problems in the Middle East. Like,
yeah.
What is this? But also there's Secret Service at the hotel. There's a room to give speeches at a podium. So like, how secret is this meeting? I don't understand any of this.
Yeah, I'll give you, it does feel like a summit that people are hearing about in the news or something, but I guess it's secret.
It's just, in the Middle East, we just didn't tell them.
Yeah, I mean, it must be, right? Because if they were going to publicize a summit, you'd think it would be something like we pulled in the leaders from these different countries and we had talks, and not, all these Western powers got together to figure out how we're going to, do our imperialism more efficiently without stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah, that could be what it is.
Like, we don't want Russia and the United States fighting a proxy war in Syria here. We need to work this out ahead of time so that when the shit goes down, everybody's cool.
Right. Yeah, that's how the government works.
That is I mean, legitimately, that does track.
It's pre-Twitter, so nobody was really sharing information also at this time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is a little weird that she would write it like that, because again, that does feel like what you would write if you were a child, where you're just like, yeah, the big important countries, they're talking about a big important problem, the Middle East, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but she does know better, and it's not like she shies away from putting, like, I don't know, existential dread and suicide and PTSD into these books. Like,
she just couldn't remember the names of any Middle Eastern countries.
She was like, if I say the names, people are going to get mad at me. They're going to think I have some kind of stance.
Right. No. Notice China's not at this meeting.
Yeah, but this was what, the late 90s, so.
Also, are these really okay? US, Japan, and Russia. I don't know about Germany, England, and France. Are they really the next three? Maybe they are. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, see, the problem is that, like, I feel like the answer is, well, the next, like, what you really want after the United States for this list would be the EU. And that, I mean, that was Germany, England, and France until England fucked off.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know my late 90s geopolitics.
And I do, but we don't have time to talk about it.
Okay, good.
You mentioned that David was nude.
I did. I'm not sure I like how you said that.
Nude David. Computer?
Computer.
And
this image is not suitable for podcast.
And Tobias steals clothes for him from the Kahuna Beach Shop, which I looked up. I don't think it's a real place.
I assumed it wasn't, but I also figured you'd look it up for me.
There's a Kahuna surf shop somewhere, but not a beach shop, at least not currently active.
Is that what Tito ran? The Kahuna
yep.
in Rocket Power?
That's right. That's right. It's also the Big Kahuna Burger.
Oh, I could go for a burger.
Okay, calm down. We got a long podcast ahead of us. And there's this amazing bit of moralizing here where Jake is like, listen, it's okay this time that you stole those clothes, but as Animorphs, we must never shoplift again. And we will give them their money somehow later on.
Yes, we'll send the money to the shop.
Does this ring true to you, or does this feel like she had to remind kids not to steal?
I mean, it does ring true as like a child's understanding of how this works.
Maybe because Jake kind of is a Boy Scout kind of a type.
Yeah, like so I could imagine that. I mean, honestly, stealing is cool and fun, and there's nothing wrong with shoplifting.
A little bit though of. It's a little bit of like either Kay Applegate herself or the publisher was like, we can't tell kids to steal.
Yeah, I do feel like that. You know, Jake says something about like we can't even like begin to cross that line because it's too easy to go wild with it. Which there is some truth to that. This idea that like, yeah, I mean they really could be. David brings up, he does the whole thing where he's like, you know, we could be like knocking over jewelry stores and it's supposed to be like, what is this David kid doing? And like, I could see this idea of like, listen, it's hard to draw the line. I don't know how this escalates. But like, also as someone who spent like 10 plus years in retail, it's fine. Shoplifting's fine. No, like, who cares? Just do it. It's like, whatever.
Kids, steal.
I guess not 10 plus. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is 10. We don't need to get into it. A lot of this is just setting up the larger themes of this book, so that's kind of why it's important. But without having not knowing that context yet at the beginning of the book, I was kind of, it felt a little weird to me, but it sort of makes sense later on. We also get a little more. I don't know if I would call it moralizing, but. Cassie explains to us why Tobias is not actually racist.
Yeah. I love that section.
Now, I don't know if, because we keep joking about Tobias's bird racism when it comes up, but in this book, they specifically refer to it. They say he's like a racist with birds instead of people.
Yeah, no, that is what David says. And Cassie is all like, well, those birds are different species. It's not really a good comparison. It is, Cassie. David's right. He's right. Tobias is a bird racist. I'm sorry, Cassie. I know you don't want to hear it.
It really does feel like, come on, no wonder this kid hates you guys. Like, Cassie,
yeah, right.
Just, that's not a good compare. Like, you just wanted to be a contrarian.
Yeah,
come on.
Agreed. Like, Tobias is really into the whole bird thing, as David puts it.
So I found that was both of those things right next to each other. Felt a little.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about when I read this as a kid, and like I do think that I like understood where Jake was coming. Like when I was 9 years old and I read this book, I was like, oh yeah, Jake's got a point. You shouldn't steal. That's bad. There are good people for sending the money back. So I don't know.
Oh, I was one time. Here's a story because we have time for this.
Yeah.
I must have been really little, like 6 or 7. I something like that, maybe even younger. And I was in a comic store with my dad, and he was buying me comics. And I remember, I don't know what I did, but I put like another comic under a comic I bought. Clever. But I mean, I didn't pay for them, so I don't know if I handed them to him or maybe I just held it up. My dad was like, and that one. And I remember but I had no concept at this age of what that this was something wrong. And as soon as we got in the car, like the second we got in the car, I was like proud of myself. I showed my dad. I was like, look what I did. I tricked him. I got another comic.
You tricked him.
And my dad was like mad, and he made us go back inside, and he either returned it or paid for it. I don't remember. And I was like, that was my, like for a long time, probably a lot of it rooting in that scenario. I was really mortified by that. And I like, I did not shoplift or anything like that when I was a kid. Like stealing is wrong. Yeah, that really, really affected me. I felt so bad about it. So David clearly didn't have that.
I don't have like a trauma story like that, but yeah, I was a good kid. I was too much of a loser to ever steal anything. That just,
Thanks for not saying pussy, because that's a gendered insult I don't like.
Right. No, it makes sense. Also, it just wasn't an appropriate usage there. Like that wasn't what I was. That wasn't the reason I didn't steal.
Okay, that was just another thing.
Right. No, that would be a different kind of action. It'd be improper usage. Anyway,
they gotta morph gulls.
They gotta morph gulls because they gotta do more surveillance so they can figure out what's going on. They gotta blend in.
And Kay Applegate, she doesn't keep track of many things from book to book, but she does remember who does or doesn't have which morphs.
Yes.
And I like them. Tobias is just like, oh yeah, I didn't have one either, but now I do.
He had to catch it. And I do think Tobias was like, I didn't want to get one because he's a bird racist and he thinks that gulls are dirty and stupid and ugly.
He's right.
I like the part where I always like it when Marco and Tobias riff. Right. I like when Marco says something like, if a seagull eats chicken, is that like cannibalism? And Tobias is like, depends. Is it extra crispy or regular? Like Tobias is quick with the banter here, coming back with him.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too, but I mean, that line doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, but banter's not supposed to make sense. The point is that it's quick. You come back.
I guess that's kind of our dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like it so much.
Yeah. We've said it before. I think we are Marco and Tobias.
I guess.
Yeah, we have to be. Unless you're Cassie, I don't know.
No.
Yeah, you're Tobias.
I'm too abrasive to be Cassie.
We're both kind of Marco, but I think if we have to pick ones, I think that's what we've established.
No, I think that does make sense. Okay.
Now, should we get to now when they actually leave the beach?
I mean, I just wanted to say, like, I guess I should have said this right off the bat, but like, Last time I was saying that they did this book as like a cliffhanger for the sake of having a cliffhanger, right? Like literally the whole falling out of the helicopter thing is immediately resolved. And
yeah,
it does feel like it doesn't feel like a book cliffhanger that much. It feels like an interchapter cliffhanger, you know what I mean? Like when you're reading through the book and then they get to chapter 8 or whatever and it's like and I was falling and then you start chapter 9 and it's like and then they caught us cuz they do, they always did that in Goosebumps where
yeah,
like there's a monster. Oh no, it was just my sister. And they do it in Animorphs too though. Um
yeah.
yeah, it's just it really does come back to the whole like they should have ended the last book in a different spot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they literally could have just had them land, but there is a lot of stuff at the beach that probably would have been cut or moved anyway because the book was almost over.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah,
they
no.
just cut somewhere else.
I do think that this book on the whole is paced a lot better than the last book.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna get into that yet. That was more of my wrap up thoughts.
Okay, we can get into that at wrap up.
No, but since you said it,
Okay, sure.
yeah, I agree that this book is much less crowded than the first one in the trilogy.
Same cannot be said for our podcast on it.
No, can't be said. So these controllers, like you said, they're shooting them with Dracon beams that are linked to their sunglasses.
Yeah. You like that?
Controllers have Cyclops tech now.
Yeah.
That is what this is.
Yes, this is Cyclops tech, yes.
And I'm shocked that Marco doesn't say that.
That is a good point. He is an X-Men fan, we know.
But Kay Applegate doesn't really know the names of X-Men. She just knows X-Men, I think.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume we never hear about this again.
Yeah, no, I don't think they'd ever bring back the sunglasses as opposed to just using like guns.
It just kind of seems like if you can shoot from your glasses, why would you ever have guns? just wear glasses. Your hands are free, or hold 2 guns and wear the glasses. Now you can shoot in 3 places at once. I don't know.
I assumed they had to use a hand to activate it. Like either they're like tapping their sunglasses or they have like a button in their pocket. Maybe they don't.
No, I think you're right. I do think they have something in their jacket pocket. I think they kind of maybe imply that. But yeah, I don't. This is a weird bit of technology to introduce that for it to never come up again. That seems both like could be a game changer for the Yerks, and it's just so. I mean, it is a very unique thing. I can't think of any other stories where they can just link their laser guns to their glasses. Like, it's crazy.
It looks cool though, or at least the imagery looks cool.
It does look cool. It does.
Yeah. That's what they should have done in Men in Black. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about that because Marco references it. I know that's an ending thing, but
come on.
They're all in suits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
All right. All right. I won't do any more spoiling for the end of the show.
Thank you.
I've been bad about that.
Thank you.
I'm
done.
Are we okay? So they finish at the beach, right? They all get zapped and they have to go home. They pretty much have no way in here. So they go home. David is now staying in Cassie's hayloft. He's been jumping from place to place, but now he's in her barn and I guess somehow avoiding her dad or something. And we get the standard. So I feel like in every Jake book, we get a scene where we got to see Jake's home life just for like a chapter.
Yeah,
so this time,
anytime you have one of the kids as the POV, you want to see them in their downtime.
Yeah. And I don't know that they always get that, but I feel like Jake definitely always gets that. Just
Cassie,
so you can see
I think,
Tom
usually gets it.
I guess Yeah, and
And
maybe they do always. Maybe I'm just being silly.
Rachel definitely gets it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That makes it's just like Tobias gets his meadow. Anyway, this time when Jake gets home, his parents are very upset because his cousin Sadler has been hit by a car while riding his bike, and he is in like the ICU with really severe injuries. Um, so because of this, Jake's parents are going to be gone for the next couple days to help out Sadler's family, and then if he lives, then they will, then Sadler will get moved to the local children's hospital, and his family will come stay with Jake's family. So Jake and Tom are going to be on their own for a couple days at first here. They have like some sibling arguments about Tom being Jake's babysitter and haha and Jake's got to get to bed. Partially because Tom needs to sneak out to do his Yerk stuff. But then that night, Cassie calls Jake up and tells him in code that David is missing. So he and Tom both end up sneaking out around each other. So it's kind of a brief aside, but we can talk about Jake's home life here for a bit. I do think it's very funny that both Jake and Tom are trying to sneak out of the house around each other. I think there's like sitcom potential here.
Yeah, that's a good comedy of errors right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want more Tom. Whenever Tom shows up, it's always like interesting and suspenseful, and I'm surprised they don't focus more on him in Jake's books, because it just feels like that's an easy plot device to use him as you're into what the Yerks are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this book, I think Tom is at his, I don't know, least suspicious yet. Like he does a good job playing the big brother role this time.
It's kind of it's kind of like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing.
Yeah. I see it.
Yeah. Which is going to be a TV show soon.
That I didn't know.
Donald Glover.
You're gonna if you're listening to the podcast in the future, then it was a TV show.
That's right. You really glossed over, you breezed right past the biggest discussion point of this section.
There's a lot of discussion. Yeah, I have more. Don't worry. I
mean, but one is like right off the bat.
Please say it.
His name is Sadler. Sadler is his first name?
Yes, Sadler is his first name.
That's not a name.
His siblings are named Justin, Brooke, and Forrest.
Yeah, we get a whole rundown of this kid's family who are coming to stay at their house, but that never, unless it happens in the next book, that never happens. We don't.
Yeah, so this is one of those things that she's very fortunate she put Jake and Rachel back to back, because this does not get discussed again this book, like ever. But fortunately, Rachel is also Sadler's cousin, so they can sort of continue.
Okay, sure. So that's good at least, because it really feels like they're setting up like, oh boy, it's going to be tough for him to get out of the house. No, it doesn't matter. None of that comes up.
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter here.
Sadler is not a name. Yeah. Do you think Sadler is a name? Have you ever met a person named Sadler?
Well, I read a book when I was a kid. Like when I was 9, they had a book with the character in it that was named Sadler. So yeah, it's just
right. Right.
You're very caught up on this whole Sadler thing.
I'm sorry, but Kay Applegate is weird with names, and this name is weird.
Mr. Sadler something.
That's not the name of a human. That's the only Sadler I know is in Resident Evil 4, the bad guy. All the zombies are like Sadler, Lord Sadler. I think it might be with a T in that game. I don't know, but it's a weird, creepy name. It's not real. I don't like it.
Good. Well, you can tell him that.
I also don't like when Cassie calls Jake. Mm-hmm. Again, I think this happened last book. Mm-hmm. The phone goes deedly, deedly, deedly.
Yeah, I have a note about that in here.
What ringtones did Kay Applegate have? Deedly. Phones go ring ring in your house. The landlines don't go deedly deedly deedly. Whose phone was that?
Basically, we're not cell phones at this time. The Kay Applegate has only heard landlines at this point. I'm near positive.
Yeah, no,
That's just how they sound to her.
There could have been flip phones. I think they existed. I think they did. Like early cell phones.
In 98, yeah, they had early cell phones. They were like those giant block things that you saw in the Matrix.
I'm trying to think of the X-Files because you kind of see the full evolution of cell phones on that show. Yeah, I mean, but you're mostly correct. But yeah, I mean, maybe there were car phones too, I guess.
Yeah, I do think there were like those wireless hub phones where it's like it's a landline, but then you can take it out of its hub and walk around the house.
Yeah, we had one of those. I thought the thing was awesome. This is how boring it was being a kid in the 90s. Was that thing had a function where you could, if you didn't know where it was, you could ring it and you would like be able to find it. I would just play with that like it was a toy. Like that was fun.
That sounds really fun to me.
That was like exciting to me. Like, wow, you can press a button and it makes a noise somewhere else in the house. It's like magic.
The Zoomers won't believe this. This will be like when your grandpa's like, when I was a kid, we just played with a rock. That was our toy. That's how we had fun. They're going to be like, you didn't play with the phone ringing. That's not real, Grandpa.
Yeah, Christ world. But anyway, I don't know. I guess theoretically, like that kind of phone, maybe it made a more electronic sound, but I still don't know about Deedly Deedly. That's just me. Deedly Deedly, it sounds like this might be Carlos Mencia's phone.
There we go. That's a good pull right there.
But then they moved to the barn.
And now that you've pulled so much content out of Deedly Deedly and Sadler.
This is what the people love.
Now, can I highlight the fact here that when they say that the family might be coming to stay, Jake is like their cousin, or my cousin Forrest is basically the devil. I fucking hate this kid. He's awful. And immediately Tom, not Jake, is like, can't they go somewhere else? Like, I'm pretty sure Tom's Yerk. The implication here to me is that Tom's Yerk also hates Forrest. He's just like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to live with this fucking Forrest kid. No.
I want more stuff of Jake and Tom's Yerk, like being forced to interact and kind of, I want to see their version of the Cassie book 19. I want to see they get stuck in an elevator shaft and have to work together, and like Jake knows but he can't tell him he knows, and all like there's so much fun stuff you can mine from that they have not done really yet.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like one line a book.
I like this elevator shaft idea where it's like Tom, they're like stuck and like they're on the news and there's rescue teams and like they kind of gotta get out within 3 days because Tom's York's gonna starve and Jake knows it, so he kind of wants him to stay trapped, but also they gotta get out.
Oh, this is our fan fiction, all right?
Yeah, next. This is good.
I love a good bottle episode. Also, I love when and Jake says, Yerks make lousy babysitters, which sounds like the title of one of those, like My Teacher is a Werewolf books. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I know.
Yerks make lousy babysitters.
That's good.
Yeah,
like a children's author.
They get to the barn, and Jake's describing everyone. He says, Rachel has always looked great. Just want to mention that. Emphasize, Jake thinks Rachel always looks great. More so than Cassie. Cassie looks worried. But Rachel looks great.
Now, Rachel they say that she's dressed up nice because she keeps outfits in Cassie's barn so that she can show up in her morphing outfit, but then be able to be stylish.
Love it.
It's pretty good.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah, No, please. No, you.
Fine.
No, you.
I'm just going to say, I feel like this is a turning point here because Cassie mentions meds and doesn't feel the need to explain to us what that means.
That is exactly what I was going to say, is that she does
we
not
are
tell
so in sync.
It's just like, I got a little confused personally. I didn't know what she was giving these animals.
I Googled it. I was like, medals? Did they win an award or something? I don't know what that means.
She's probably already said it so many times to all the other Animorphs that they're like, Cassie, shut the fuck up. We know.
I just gotta give this goose with a I don't know, pancreatic cancer some meds. Whatever the fuck.
Now, also at the barn here, we haven't even gotten into what they're doing from this point, but also at the barn, Marco is not there because his dad is out on a date. Which,
yes.
like, this is kind of an important character development here, right? Like, his dad is dating again.
He's getting back out there.
He is. And like, that's, I mean, that is something, because, like, Marco knows his mom is still alive.
Right.
It's the sort of thing you'd think would have, like, this concept would have been introduced in a Marco book and not introduced a little bit earlier.
Yeah, they need a reason Marco can't be there, I guess. Because somebody has to stay behind, because Kay Applegate's tired of writing for 6 kids at once. And now there's 7, so she's like, no, fuck this.
Yeah, too many kids.
yeah, he's like, get Cassie over there, because he's getting back up on that horse.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, that is, I wonder if that will be explored much in the future, because that is a juicy concept, since, like you said, as we know, his wife is still alive, so that's tough.
Drama. Anyway, yeah. They're out at the barn. David has left. He disappeared. They don't know where he is. So Jake morphs Homer, like he is on the cover here, where he morphed into Homer on the cover, so that he can follow David's scent. So David walked away. They find out he morphed Lion for some reason in the middle of the town, so that's a little reckless. But then he morphed back and then went Eagle. So they figure out he's in a nearby Holiday Inn. He broke in and he is watching TV. So they show up at the Holiday Inn and Jake lectures him about, oh, we don't break laws. You can't just come in here and da-da-da-da-da, David. This is illegal. And David's like, listen, don't tell me how to live my life, okay? I don't want to be in the barn forever. And Jake is like, you want to use your powers like this is a danger, you are a security risk, and we can't have you around. And so he makes like a threat, and then the two of them head back together.
Now, at this point,
yeah.
What do you think about David?
So, I mean, David in general, there are, at this point in the books, a couple of red flags, but this particular action here, like, as far as this goes, David did nothing wrong, in my opinion. Fuck off, right? Like this is stupid. You can't, he can't expect him to fucking sit in the barn and live. Like, let him break. Nobody's in this room. The hotel can fucking eat the cost. It's fine of the window. Like, it is literally fine. Give him a goddamn place to stay. Like,
but we're Jake Animorphs.
Is over. Jake is over here. He's like, I'm too busy. I know your entire life just got ripped away from you, but I'm too busy right now to figure out what to do about that. So instead, I'm just going to, like, order you to be my child soldier to run into death. And you're just going to have to deal with that and fuck your life and your living situation. I don't have time to deal with that right now. Like, fuck off. David did nothing wrong. And then he comes in and he's effectively making threats against David's life if he doesn't, like, shape up. Like, if I'm David in this position, I am legitimately thinking, I gotta get away from these guys and, like, shit might go down.
Yeah, I mean, you make valid points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I think David did nothing wrong.
I mean...
It probably shouldn't be, like, just morphing a lion and shit in public places and screwing around.
Like I said, there are some red flags, but
I do sympathize, and yeah, there is this weird dynamic where he feels like a prisoner. He kind of is a prisoner at this point.
Yeah.
But so I totally get David's perspective, but I also do get the Animorphs' perspective of this is so, I don't know that he quite appreciates the gravity of this power in this situation, because this is some real life or death shit and he's just fucking around.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, it's life or death shit that they have kind of dragged him into. Like, you know, they kind of pulled him and they said, okay, we gave you this power, we gave you that, and now you're beholden to our group, right? You can't go off and just, like, you can't opt out. You can't say, I don't want to be part of this war. I'm just going to leave and go do something else, because he can't live a normal life. His parents are gone, his house is gone. If he's going to make any kind of life for himself, he's going to have to use his morphing powers. And so that means he's a security risk. And so that means they can't have, like, I get how both sides are kind of stuck here, but you know, I definitely, from David's perspective, it's, you look at it and it's like, it is not reasonable to be expected to do what the Animorphs want you to do, and it is not reasonable to be, you know, because, you know, Jake's a good guy. There's a very good chance that once this is over, he would put very real work into figuring out how is David going to, like, have an actual life, and not just, because remember, there's no phones, right? So when he's in that barn, he's literally just staring at the ceiling for 12 hours stewing all night, and he can't leave or move or do anything. um you know, like, but David doesn't know that. David has no reason to think that Jake is ever gonna do anything other than just use him to be like a soldier. So, like I said, if I'm David in this position, my thought is, like, I can't, you know, if I'm in this, I'm gonna die. I need to get away. I can't. They're not gonna let me get away. Like, I need to be ready to. I need to be making a plan to escape, and I need to potentially be ready to fight. That's my thought process if I'm in his shoes.
I think yeah, I mean, that's very fair. I think the right answer in this case would have been to just hook a TV up for him. You know what I mean? Or, like, give him some books.
Mm-hmm.
Marco doesn't have, like, a tree house with a TV and some comic books or something. He just needs to be just, like, treated a little bit. That's all.
Yeah. No, I as treated as opposed to threatened.
Or you could have said, hey, Marco says, hey, this is my new buddy from school. He's staying here for a few nights. Is that okay? His parents are out of town. I don't know. Because they're not looking for Marco. So, like, he could have stayed inside Marco's house.
Yeah, he was there for one night in the last book.
Yeah, that seems like it would have worked. Or
Yeah.
Cassie's. Well, no, I guess not a girl. That'd be weird. But I don't know.
Yeah, it does feel like they could have handled it a little bit better. And it is, again, to be fair, it is, Jake is in a very bad situation here because he does not have a lot of time to put into
There's a
thinking
lot on
about
his
this.
mind.
Yeah, they've been pretty much nonstop doing shit here.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily blame either one of them, but, you know, it's good. It's a good, and I don't know if you are. I don't think you're supposed to sympathize with David, though. At
No.
this point,
No,
you are
you
supposed to be like, oh,
definitely
this is a
aren't.
bad kid.
Yeah, you are supposed to think like he just doesn't. He is just fucking around and he doesn't give a shit about anything. Uh, and you can. It is kind of written that way. Like, there are things about the way that he talks about it where it's like he's not talking about it like a guy who is in anguish. You know, there's something distant about him. And then they keep putting in all these little red flags, like, oh yeah, he just goes lying just to try it out in the middle of the town. You know, he killed that crow just for fun. Um, the way that he's like, we could just knock over jewelry stores, which is a little bit like, dude, okay, but I feel like maybe you're not trying to just kind of build a life for yourself out of this power. You're doing a little bit more. So they do write him, you know, as though there's something more wrong with him. But this action in the book is treated a little bit too harshly, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Cassie brings up, she's like, hey, Jake, remember that time you morphed into a tiger and was running around on people's roofs? Is this a thing that happened, or did they just make that up? I don't remember when this happened.
Yeah, I don't remember this happening exactly. I'm sure it wasn't the first time he morphed Tiger. I think the
It
first
could.
time he morphed Tiger was in the Yerk pool.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
uh,
So I don't know. I was just wondering if that was a specific instance, but I guess it might have just been. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
Nobody's nerfed.
Yep, could be. Anything else about this this hotel?
No, I'm ready to start talking about the other hotel.
Yeah, the other hotel, out of the frying pan into the fire, only with
Sure.
hotels.
Right, sure. Yeah, sure.
All right, so they're gonna. Cassie's got a plan to get him in, even though security seems airtight, right? So they're because they have literally no time. They all skip school the next day, which they never do because it's a security risk, whatever. They need a bug morph, but it's got to have good senses and high mobility. They don't have one of those yet. So Jake's going to go as a dragonfly. And just so it's not suspicious that there are a ton of dragonflies, the rest of them are going to go as fleas, and they're going to ride on him, so that nobody, whatever. So they're all fleas riding on Jake. Jake is going. There's no open windows, so he flies into a bellman's hat as he's like tipping it to all the people so that he can fly in under the hat. Once he gets in, he starts searching around the hotel or the resort, whatever, for a safe room for them to demorph in. There's like a lack of safe places. All the rooms are occupied. There's some shenanigans where he gets like stuck in a spider web. It took him forever to get going. So they're at the end of their time. They're all about to be trapped in morph. So Jake flies him into a room, no time to spare. Everybody is struggling to get out of morph. So we had another one of those scenes, and Marco is like growing into a giant flea, but his features aren't changing. It's a pretty horrific scene, but Cassie manages to talk him down. I went through a lot of chapters here, but I didn't have that many notes on it, so hopefully you yeah.
Nah, I got nothing. Next. No, I have some things. Let's talk about Project Dragonfly, as I call it.
Yes, please.
Aren't dragonflies kind of big?
Kinda? Like how big is big to you?
I feel like big enough that they could be noticed flying into a hotel.
Well, that's why they flew into the guy's hat, you see.
Okay, here's the next next question. They mentioned that the bellmen all have tall hats that they tip at guests. What is this, 1920? What are these tall hats the bellmen have?
Well, they're only at rich people hotels. If you went to rich people hotels, you would.
I feel like I can almost see it at. I don't know. I'm picturing like Home Alone 2 or something. This is like a thing in a real. It's got to be but this is a Marriott. It's not the fucking Ritz.
It's a Marriott resort.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I'm reaching.
I don't know about these hats. But I guess it works. I mean, I guess. Look, they're fleas. They're using the dragonfly like a big plane. They're riding on him. It's a ridiculous plan.
It is a ridiculous plan.
There is a certain logic to it, but it's just a lot you have to allow for, that the fleas can bite the back of the dragonfly to hang on. I don't know. I feel like you can't get one bird close to the hotel past the security and just like quickly drop some people off or something. The birds can fly pretty fast. Like Tobias, he can't fly fast enough to outrun their laser beams. I think he could.
Well, they got to get in secret too, right? They don't want everyone knowing. All the Yerks. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. They get to ride on a dragonfly. That's fun.
Yeah, they should have put that on the fucking cover.
They should have. They could have had the eyeballs. There's a scene where he's morphing dragonfly and his head is just all eyeball.
Yeah, he says it. It's like a wall of TV sets and a dome around him.
Yeah, like the Matrix.
That's what I was gonna say. That was my note. It said being a dragonfly is like being the architect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, also there's some fucked up shit in here. Like even before the flea, when Jake says an extra set of legs erupted from my chest, like hyperactive worms crawling out of an apple.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst bits of imagery yet. I hate that.
That didn't bother me too much.
Yeah, well, because you're a fucking freak.
I like worms. What do you want?
Also, there's a great line when they're talking about. He says it's like watching the tapes from Desert Storm, and Axe says, "You put your wars on television for people to watch? Humans."
Axe ain't seen nothing yet. Just wait till the mid-aughts when we get shock and awe. We'll really see some barbarous shit.
Well, this is where Axe draws the line. I mean, Andalites have some
right.
war shit going on too, but he's like, but we don't tell people to watch it.
There's no way the electorate doesn't fucking watch battle vids. They love their soldiers so much.
Yeah. There's also some good stuff about Axe learning about what a hat is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he disapproves of hats.
Yeah, he doesn't understand clothing, of course. Marco says he's a cute flea and he has pretty blood-sucking mouth parts.
That's true. He does say that.
Now, this Cassie business, this is what I think is the juiciest part of this section.
Mm-hmm. Is this the part where her head bursts, or is this the part where she talks down Marco?
I was thinking when she talks down Marco.
I figured that's what you thought.
Does her head burst? Gross.
Yeah, there's a part where she's like on Jake and Jake's like demorphing and she's still attached and she hits a human blood vessel and it like, yeah, her head like explodes and she's dying as a flea. Yeah.
I mean, this whole section with first of all, like being a dragonfly getting caught in a spider's web, this is horrifying to me. I hated this. And then having to demorph and then you're like, half human, half dragonfly in a vent with a spider still like crawling around. This upsets me. Don't like this part at all. And then the cherry on top is Cassie getting crushed and like her guts oozing out. And then this Marco turning into a giant flea, which I did look up an image of a flea just so I would have an accurate picture in my head. And they are quite disgusting.
Yeah, and I imagine it's the size of a dog, as they say, and he's like facing down, being trapped as a dog-sized flea.
Yes, very bad. Although, that could be kind of fun. You could like having a pet, like weird alien.
I don't think you would like that pet.
Nah, it'd be kind of fun. And but this part where Cassie talks him down and she's like, Marco, just concentrate on all this. Clear your mind. You can demorph, right. and she helps him. And Marco starts crying. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you saved my life, which I like that Marco's just like me. He loves Cassie now. We're taking the same journey together, he and I.
Yeah.
But Axe, what I think was really interesting about this is I think Axe is watching this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never seen anything like that.
Now, Cassie already talked Marco down. Well, but that was before Axe got there. I was going to say, this is the second time this has happened, that they were going to get trapped as monstrosities, and Cassie has to, like, specifically get Marco out of it.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, something about this time made it seem like I interpreted it as possibly he should have been trapped, and it almost seemed to me like Cassie is so good that maybe she's like found a way to actually push past the 2-hour time limit.
It is kind of written like that because they used the word miracle here.
Yeah, and again, Axe says this is something I have not seen before. Mm-hmm. Which it seems like wouldn't be the case if it was just, he was freaking out and I helped him calm down. It seems like he would have been fucked otherwise. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that probably never comes up again, but it feels like potentially, maybe Cassie's like onto some maybe she can unlock even more powerful morphs or something.
It's like when Toph, halfway through her run, just learns how to bend metal, which used to be the weakness. Right. They could have a Cassie book where it's like, yeah, Cassie can just morph forever now. She doesn't have a 2-hour limit anymore.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty badass.
Yeah, that'd be cool as hell. All right,
I would like that. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty horrific scene the way it's written.
Yeah, it is. It only doesn't stand out because we've had so many.
Yeah,
but it still stands out to me a little.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I guess I would have read this probably before I read the other one, most likely.
Right. Yeah.
I
Great
don't even
intro to this
remember.
world.
Yeah.
And again, it is a classic thing. Just this fact that it's the spider that's fucking them up. That it's just a spider. It's not a yerk. It's not a gun.
Yeah,
It's
they almost died to a spider.
yeah. That kind of thing is great.
There's like a mention of that earlier too, where they're talking about like it's a long way to get to the hotel as a bug, and Rachel's like, yeah, we could get eaten.
You could get caught in a car windshield. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
just it's quite difficult to be a bug.
I do always love when they get fucked up by just some random normal thing.
Yeah, it's great. It's because it's I don't know. There's something grounded about it that
Mm-hmm.
I'll enjoy the juxtaposition
Right, your favorite word.
of that and the other stuff.
It's
Ah.
good. But they're in here now. They've made their way in through a lot of craziness.
Yeah.
Okay. So they get their bearings in this room, and they are standing in the main ballroom, and there is a portable yerk pool next to them. So Jake had actually passed this room up earlier because of this, but he came here because they ran out of time. Um, they are standing in a hologram of a giant pillar. So you imagine this giant ballroom, right? Or maybe not giant. This hotel ballroom, just kind of from their perspective, has a portable yerk pool just sitting there in the middle of it in the open, but they're within a pillar hologram. So if they were sitting at a table, it would look like there's a giant, like 10-foot in diameter pillar holding up the ceiling. All right. Hopefully this imagery makes sense because it gets a little muddled, I think, in the
I'm
book.
gonna need some diagrams of this shit.
Okay. Okay. As they are exploring it and figuring out what's up, a man named Tony, the White House chief of protocol, shows up, and he is arguing with a lady named Sheila. So he's changed up the plan for the ceremony. He's saying, oh, when the president and the other heads of state, when they walk up to the podium to do their speeches, instead of going this whatever path, they're going to go around behind the pillar instead. And they're like, ooh, that's suspicious. So Jake at this point is out of the pillar because some shenanigans have been happening. And he looks on the bottom of Tony's shoe from under the table, and he sees that Tony is Slash Shoe. Remember Slash Shoe from the last book, who we thought was the president, who Visser 3 acquired. Well, it's actually Tony, the White House chief of protocol. So anyway, they overhear this. They overhear the Yerk's plan to get these guys infested. And they're like, okay, we can leave. We should be able to leave out the roof because they're projecting this hologram in through a hole in the roof. It's complicated. I feel like I need to give like 10 minutes of geometry explanations on how this all works. But it's anyway, whatever. They have to decide if Jake has to decide, is he gonna kill the Yerks in this pool or not before he leaves. He decides, no, we're not gonna kill the Yerks. They go to leave. They stupidly set off an alarm thinking that will distract everyone from the birds flying out of the ceiling, but no, of course, controllers show up. So Jake and David get trapped outside the pillar, and they have to leave differently. God, there's so much in this section. I should have broken this up.
No, you're doing great. We're almost there.
Okay. So everybody else is leaving as birds. Jake and David observe the controller guards going in. They check. They see the Yerks are still alive, so they figure, okay, it was a false alarm. No Andalite bandits here. Otherwise, the Yerks would be dead. David during all of this shenanigans having, David morphs into a lion under the table. And Jake's like, no, we're not going to fight. But David's not listening to him. Anyway, he doesn't attack them, and the controllers leave, and Jake and David get out the same way they got in, flee on Dragonfly. Okay.
All right. So,
Jesus Christ.
The hologram.
Yes.
There's are there 10-foot in diameter pillars?
Yeah, right? Like, that is so weird to me, but that is what it says, is 10, and it has to be, because there's a fucking pool in it, and the room for all the Animorphs to stand around.
Yeah, I kept trying to figure out, is this some kind of an optical illusion where the pillar looks normal size, but in it somehow it's actually bigger?
No, it's just a ritzy ballroom with giant fucking pillars in it.
And this hologram, they can actually, the holograms in this universe you can touch and interact with.
No, they're also projecting a force field.
Oh, that's what it is? Because they said at one
Yeah.
point someone could touch it and they would just feel a pillar.
Yeah, because they're putting down a force field too.
Okay, was that the same as the chi tech too? Or the
Yeah, that
pemoids?
is the same as the chi tech. They make a whole point about this where they're like, because the Yerk technology is nowhere near as good as the chi technology, they need like an actual Yerk ship like in the sky projecting this down at all times, because they need like the power source from a ship. They can't just do it from here the way that a chi could.
Yeah, the ship is hovering in midair indefinitely above this room.
Yes. Projecting a force field and hologram of a pillar down through a hole in the ceiling that they burned out with the Dracon beam, where the original pillar was.
This hologram tech is wild.
Yeah. And I remember I had like, a little bit of difficulty with this, reading it at 9 years old, trying to figure out what exactly was going on here.
Yeah, it's confusing. I'm having difficulty now in my 30s. I don't understand it. And I know we've talked about this before, and I don't think we have an answer of exactly what kind of fuel source these ships use.
Yeah, I do not know.
Because apparently this thing doesn't need to refuel, or at least it can survive for like at least 72 hours or something. It's just like hovering there for all this time. Or
Yeah,
they can refuel
solar.
it while it's in midair, maybe.
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
guess I mean they probably have transport ships. They have that
Yeah,
giant transport ship. They must be able to do something.
yeah, that is true. Okay, there's just a lot to get into here.
Yeah.
So they're hiding under this table. There's basically an episode of Veep happening, just in the
Yes.
midst of all this. We need to talk about the slash shoe.
Yeah. This threw me for a loop when I was a kid, because in the last book they really play up that they think Slash Shoe is probably the president. And you leave the book with the impression that he's the president. And then I, as a 9-year-old, spend a month thinking that he's the president, which in 9-year-old terms, a month is a long time. So we get this reveal that Slashy was not the president, and I remember my brain was just like, wait, so who is Slash? So what's going on with the president? What's the Slash Shoe? I remember having more trouble with fucking Slash Shoe than I had with this hologram setup somehow, because it was so ingrained in my brain, because I reread the book like 10 fucking times in the month I was waiting for this to come out.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was the president. That
Yeah,
was
no,
my
and
impression.
you brought that up at the end of last episode. You were talking about the Yerk's plan and about Slash You being the president, and I was like, well, that's not quite their plan, but I don't want to spoil it because I didn't know when I was a kid and it confused me, so you should have that experience too.
And I guess, do we get into their plan now? Like, what it actually is? Can we talk about that? Or is that kind of...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's extremely complicated. It requires a sophisticated hologram, which, they had to set up and make sure it wasn't discovered. Go through all this trouble. Why, when they took over the helicopters, why not? Okay, they wanted a Yerk. Their real goal right now is to get a Yerk pool in the White House, right? That's their goal.
Yes, but also all these other countries as well.
Right, but they got to start somewhere, right? So, but that's
Yeah.
the explanation of why they didn't just infest them, is because it's too suspicious if they have to go off every 3 days or whatever. So, okay, fair enough. But it does seem convoluted when, like, they had them all on this helicopter. I don't know. You could have just...
Yeah, you could have.
Like,
it feels like that would work for the president, but they would have to get like this. The whole like the ceremony is going to have every head of state walk past the pillar, so they get all of them. It does
Right.
just seem like if they could grab a helicopter, why they should be able to grab everybody's helicopter. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, just grab them there, and this whole plan. It's like, okay, like the
Yeah.
timing they have to pull off of making sure they pull someone in, and it still looks like they naturally come out to the helicopter. I
Yeah.
guess this hologram is soundproof, so they don't hear the screams either.
Yeah, it's got to be soundproof because I think the idea is they're projecting a hologram of them going up to accept the speech, so like it'll just look like there's no time behind the pillar.
These holograms are really advanced. This is way better than Star Wars tech. Way
That's
better
true.
than our Tupac or whatever holograms we have. Wasn't there a Tupac hologram? Did I make that up? I don't know.
Tom Cruise, Heidecker Jr.
You know what this did? You brought up Tom Cruise. This does remind me of Mission Impossible 4. One of my favorite parts when they have like a whole, they like project a hallway so they can sneak by and you don't see
Oh
them.
yeah,
There's a really cool
yeah,
tech in that.
that was good. I loved that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of attention to detail in how that tech works too, where like they do a great job like showing you like how it only works for one person because otherwise it can't get the angles right without going into a long detailed technical explanation of why that would be. I really
Yeah.
liked that part.
Listen, save it for the Mission Impossible cast, okay?
Okay.
that's next. But anyway, it's a complicated plan. Okay, and again, just the slash shoe thing. Also, a slash on someone's shoe is the weirdest defining feature I can imagine for a person. Why not just say like, oh, his shoelaces were a weird color, or there was I don't know, a slash. What does that even mean? A slash? Like where? What is that? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. His
I don't
shoes
know.
are fucked up and old. He needs new shoes.
But isn't he like he's working for the president? Shouldn't he have nice shoes
Yeah, I
on?
mean, he's not even the fucking secret. So he's the chief of protocol, whatever that means. But I would assume it means that he dresses nicely because he's in charge of that sort of thing.
Strange. All right, can we get to the less important things?
Yeah.
There was a part that I liked when they're under the table and they're seeing the political people come in, and Jake says legs were coming at me, 2 bare female legs and 4 covered in gray pinstripe suit pants.
Okay, calm down.
I just liked that part.
Okay.
Got a little bit excited. We get another section about them trying, a little mini recap of how we don't destroy Yerk pools because that's not cool.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that here because in book 6, Jake has the same option. He's like burn them. So I like that he's I don't know if he's matured a little or if he's like he's taking the war a little more seriously, where he's like, look, we're not just fucking around here. This is like actual stakes. I have to make real decisions.
Right. Yeah, and it makes sense too. It's not just a moral decision. It is also logical because the Yerks will find them out. So
yeah, they're not here to destroy this Yerk pool. They're here to stop this plan from going through. So they need them to think they haven't been here.
Which feels like a very mature choice, and I do think this book demonstrates Jake being a pretty good leader by now.
Yeah,
he's at least
we've been seeing that. Yeah,
yeah. He may not always make the right decisions, but he is willing to make them, and that's I think the important thing. He doesn't fuck around. He's like, we got to do something, so I'm making up my mind, and we're going with it.
Yeah, we've been seeing maybe that's also part of why the whole leadership thing in book 11 doesn't work as well for me, is because there's not as much just general Jake is a good leader, but these like mid-teens to early 20s book, we really do see Jake kind of coming into his own as like, okay, I actually am like a group leader for real. And a good one.
Yeah. David's being real fucked up in this section.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure is.
He's like gonna go lie, and then he's like, I was just joking. Not really. I don't know. And Jake's like, or David's like, hey, you ever wonder who'd win in a fight between a lion and a tiger?
Yeah.
And Jake's like, huh? And David says, I just find that interesting is all.
Just finds that interesting. Yeah, David's being kind of a little piece of shit here.
Yeah. And you're like, oh boy, this kid's starting to creep me out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I should have brought this up earlier. I'm just looking through my notes here. I like you're talking about the episode of Veep that they were having here. I really like how Sheila is kind of not having any of Tony's bullshit with these last minute changes. Which is like, Tony, this doesn't make any sense. What the fuck are you talking? You just said something different this morning. We need time to do this. Visser 3, because this is Visser 3 who acquired him. He must really hate having to just kind of take being talked back to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm used to being able to just cut off her head, but no, this fucking...
Yeah, she's probably getting her head cut off later, though.
Yeah. Make sure to get a yerk in her so that we can kill her.
Yeah.
My least favorite subordinate.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, why? I'm not just going to kill a person. Let's put a dumb yerk in there first.
2 birds.
That's right. Yeah, and Cassie has a nice little psychoanalytical profile of Visser 3 and how he's an egomaniac.
Yeah, he is.
He sure is.
Oh yeah, that's the part where all the guys are trying to figure out some logical explanation as to why he does what he does, and Cassie's like, actually, using my feminine intuition, I can tell you about his character. And David and Marco and Jake were all like, I still like our idea. It's pretty good.
I kind of did too. I was like, yeah, they laid it out pretty well.
Yeah. Look, they just want to mansplain a little is all. Yeah. Let them have their mansplaining.
Yeah, let them have it, Cassie. Come on. Jeez. But anyway.
Buzzkill.
She's kind of right.
Yeah.
They both have good points. There's good people on both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll just real quick. I mean, Axe has a funny dig. He says human technology is not that different from chimp technology. Haha.
Oh yeah, I like that bit. I think that happened a little later is where it is for me. But that's really good.
Are we not getting to that yet?
Yeah, we can get to that right now because it's just about this stupid hologram tech.
Great. Go for it.
Yeah, no, Axe is coming in with the sick burns here because Marco was going in on him, being like, oh well, you superior Andalites, the chi got you, da 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 da. It's like humans to chimps, and Axe is coming back at him here with the actually a much bigger difference since human and chimp tech is basically the same, that sort of thing. I like Axe's journey where he's trying to learn how to joke around with the humans.
Yeah, he tells another joke somewhere in this book. I don't remember what it was.
He does. I have it noted wherever it is, but he, or maybe I do. I don't know.
Might have already happened. I don't know.
I like it, and he pulls this one off. This one works.
Yeah, it gets Rachel to go, ooh, score 1 for the Axeman.
Yeah. Some like Andalite xenobiologist or xenocultural specialist over here taking notes on this. Like, Axe, I need you to help me understand human humor.
Yeah. I also like this part when what are they doing? They're gonna. You know what? I think you just need to get to the next chapter.
Yeah. So, okay. So later that same night. So this is all happening in the same day because they took school off. So basically this entire thing is happening over the course of 48 hours here. Okay, they come back as birds. So you remember there was a hole in the ceiling that burned out where the pillar is. So they're going to fly in way up high and then come down through the hole. And they drop weights on all of the controllers guarding the pool. And also they come in with Marco the Cobra to like bite them. To keep them down. All right. So they fly in through the hole. the banquet is in full swing. Everybody's chatting, having dinner, whatever, outside the pillar. So they take out these guards. They fly in. Axe, David, and Jake each acquire one of the guys they knocked out. So, because their plan is they're going to do basically exactly what the Yorks were going to do, except instead of infesting them, they're going to be like, hey, here's our buddy Axe. He's an Andalite. The Yorks are real. Check this out. And they're going to try to inform them all one by one. So, that's the idea. Okay.
That's
a lot.
That's one
a lot
section.
Happens.
Yeah, I guess a lot happens.
This is a lot of chapters. Not a lot happens, but it's a lot of chapters.
Oh, not a lot happens, because you just said a lot happens.
Oh, I don't know what I said. Don't listen to what I say. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I never do, man. I never do.
Okay, good.
So they are... Why is Marco a snake, and what is everyone else they're fleas again? Or I don't remember.
No, they're all birds.
They're all birds, but Marco's a snake.
But Marco's a snake because they need Marco to bite these guys and deliver a small, quote, hopefully, unquote, non-lethal dose of poison so that they stay down after they knock him out.
Okay. Does he do that? I don't remember them.
He does. He does it multiple times.
Wow.
Like,
I missed that.
I will say, like, first of all, if you're going like 50 feet in the air and then Jake says he's doing like over 100 miles an hour in the dive, and you're dropping weights on these guys' heads, first of all, they could very easily be dead just from that.
Oh, they are 100% dead.
And then Marco comes in and is biting them with what they hope is just a mild dose of cobra venom, enough to keep them knocked out. Like, no, they killed these guys.
They are totally dead. This is like the scene in Home Alone 2, like a second Home Alone 2 reference in one episode, when Kevin throws bricks off a 3-story building and hits the bandits in the fucking head several times in a row with bricks. And they're just like, oh boy, that hurts. I'm like, this child just
dead.
If not dead, these guys have brain damage. They're going to be in a coma, or they have serious concussions at the least.
Yeah, no.
Where did they drop lead weights on their heads? Where did they get those from?
Well, what did they have? They had a fishing weight, a plumb bob, and an awl. So probably out of a tool shed, I guess.
And they just carried it from nearby, I suppose. I hope they paid back wherever they got them from. Yeah, maybe it's there. That seems like a long way.
From your parents.
Yeah, but they carried it. What is that, like 5 miles or something? They had to fly to get it. I don't
know. They got weights. I mean, even on top of just an awl. If you got hit in the head with a fucking awl, that's literally just going straight into your skull.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if their talons are out.
I feel like you did something that... Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I was confused. Like, it's daytime. Usually they don't use the all morph unless it's night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Or are you from part of the country where they say "oh" or instead of oil or whatever?
Which part do they say "what Evelyn"?
What, Evelyn?
Whoa, I love that. We are like Marco and Tobias again.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I enjoyed this part here. I feel like maybe something was awakened in Marco when Rachel's carrying him as a snake, and he's talking about how insane the mission is, and Rachel says, "Marco, shut up or I'll squeeze harder." I just feel like maybe that did something for him.
It could be. Could be.
I think he liked that. This whole section is reminds me of the video game Hitman. It really feels like, I like that it's like an infiltration mission. They have to wear disguises and stuff. I mean, we didn't really get to that part yet, I guess, or right? They didn't.
I mean, they morphed these guys. They did.
Oh, they did.
They put on their tuxes.
Yeah. Which, and again, this is human morphs are okay now because this is end of the world shit.
Yeah, no, they make a point. They're like, Cassie didn't even bother to object this time or whatever. I don't.
Yeah, they're like, even Cassie let us do it because there just was no other way to do it.
Yeah, this was the only way.
But this plan is flippin' crazy.
Yes, like this whole thing is just
for them to pull this off hinges on about 1,000 things going exactly right. They have to get down there, successfully knock these guys out, get through the hole, not be seen. None of these guys can react or shoot at them or shout or contact anyone somehow. And they have to hope there's no surveillance also, that no one's monitoring this little room. And then they have to stand there and get the people to come in at the exact right time and explain to each of them what yerks are or something, and then send them back out.
Yeah, and something is occurring to me about this next section, which I will say when we get there. Now,
okay.
This plan makes nothing here. Yeah, no, where the last book was just chaos because too much shit was happening, and this one it's very convoluted instead. Like, there's just too many moving pieces.
And the book, I feel like it just kind of goes, yeah. It works. It makes sense. Just don't we're moving on. It's fine. It'll make sense.
Yeah, just keep going. Just keep going.
There's more words. Just keep reading the words.
This is also a little bit, I was noticing this in I feel like usually in Animorphs we'll get like some barn scene where they basically just tell you what they're gonna do, right? One of the Animorphs will be like, we're gonna morph into these bugs and then go in here and do that. And then in the next chapter they do that, and maybe it goes wrong or something, but like you get that set. This, they do a different setup. They're like getting ready to do the plan, and they're like, wow, that plan sure is insane. But they don't, like, you have to figure out what their plan is as they're doing it. Which
it's kind of like a heist movie thing.
Yeah, it is kind of like a heist movie thing, but it does add to the confusion. Because at every step of this plan, you don't really know where they're going next with it.
Yes, and then it turns out that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's all this setup, and it's actually completely for nothing.
Yeah, no, like, just... Maybe maybe if you wrote it all out, it would just sound too crazy. So they're like, we better just not tell them.
The Yerkes plan, though, is not less crazy.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not.
So, like, I mean, I don't know. I think, can we get to it?
So, okay. Let's just go over the whole next bit that happened. You know what? No. The world leaders, they start walking up. And they're walking, but like one by one, they're walking past the column. And Jake's like, oh shit, you know what? This is a trap. They were supposed to get grabbed battle morphs now. Except they were supposed to get grabbed by the guys in this pillar. So of course they're just walking past. Like, this didn't even occur to me until just now. like they're all like, this is suspicious. The Yerks aren't grabbing any of these guys and pulling them into the pillar. It must be a trap. You knocked them out.
Yeah, no, I was actually really confused. I did not understand how Jake figured out it was a trap.
I think as a kid, I just followed Jake's logic, which it doesn't make any sense. And it didn't even occur to me to question it until just now.
I don't know how I didn't feel like there was logic. I mean, I guess I just missed it, but it seemed to me he was just like, oh, wait, I realized it's a trap. And then they never explained why.
Yeah, no, I think the reason that I had always thought was because they're supposed to be grabbing these guys and pulling them in to infest them. And so when they don't do that, that means that it must be a trap, because it would be wrong if they didn't. But the Animorphs are supposed to be pulling them in now. And they're just not, and I don't like what they. I mean, even when he realizes that, like, two guys have walked by and they didn't do their plan.
Listen, this is the exact, at least what I have here. The Russian premier walked past and on up to the platform. He began talking, pausing every few seconds for the translator to translate his speech into English. That's when I knew. Oh man, I whispered, it's a trap. What? What? Yeah. I guess it's what he doesn't even say the thing you're saying. Like, it doesn't even get that explicit.
But why doesn't Why did they just let him walk past? Their whole plan was to pull him in.
That's a great question.
I feel like I've read this book for so long in my life, and I never question this. I'm having like a meltdown right now. I don't like this. Doesn't make it. There's nothing here.
It is.
What
it
did
is
she
really
write?
Weird. Yes, there is a step that is not included here.
Yeah,
I do not understand.
Okay, so he realizes that they're in a hologram within a hologram. This entire banquet isn't happening, right? It's a trap. The Yeerks set up this banquet as a hologram. Why didn't she write them trying to pull the guy in, and it turns out that their hand goes right through him because he's a hologram?
It feels like something is missing because again, I don't know if I'm assuming I have the right copy here. It said he walks up the podium and it goes, "We tensed up again." He came closer, and then he just walks past.
Yeah, like I said, I assume they were like, yeah, because this is when he gets pulled in by the Yeerks, who we knocked out.
Yeah, I don't. None of this makes sense. It makes so little sense that my brain didn't even process that doesn't make sense because I was just like, all right, it's a trap. Like, just so many things happen all of a sudden.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having a revelation on how little. Jesus Christ. Okay, we don't have time for me to sit here dumbfounded at how dumb this is. This is what I should have been doing when I was writing these notes, but it didn't even occur to me. I was just kept reading. All right, whatever.
All right.
So the real banquet's tomorrow. This was a trap. And Visser 3 steps out. He's all laughing at them, and he turns off the hologram, revealing they are surrounded by an army of Hork-Bajir. And David freaks out. He is just like, "I'll join you, Visser 3. Please don't kill me." And there's a little bit of a scuffle, but he runs over there, and betrays them. And Jake at this point realizes the Hork-Bajir are also a hologram because they haven't been reacting to any of the shit that's been going on with David here. So he realizes this and he's like, "Oh, actually, we're good to attack. We're not in as much of a trap as we think." And David's like, "Aha, my plan worked. I'm right next to him now," and he attacks Visser 3 first. So, sorry, there's like a fight, there's a scuffle. Visser 3 realizes that David is with them. He realizes there's too many of them, and he's all like, "Oh, human David, I'll free your parents and let you go if you betray the Animorphs." But it's too late. The Secret Service are coming because they've heard shit going down here, and so they all retreat. The Animorphs and Visser 3 retreat. And then, just briefly do the fallout from this, because on the way home, David is like, "Oh, I wouldn't really betray you, right?" And Jake is privately telling all the other Animorphs, "No one fucking say anything, like, we can't let him know we know." So they're all like, "Oh yeah, good job, David. You did good." Okay.
This is where Visser 3's plan I also don't understand, because it's a trap. Why they go through so much trouble. He lets this fake presentation play out for like 10 or 15 minutes or something, it seems like.
Yeah, I just imagine him in the back room giggling, like, "They don't know. They're in there, they don't know."
They really think it's real. Like, why not just gas them or something? Like, what is he doing? Why even reveal it at all? Because he's an egomaniac is the answer.
Yeah, like, he's got to step up. And then it's just like, well, you better hope they don't decide to do like a suicide charge at you, right? It's like, I've got a bunch of Hork-Bajir here. They'll probably just surrender when they see how outnumbered they are.
Yeah, because that's sure what they've been known for in the past is the Andalites just giving up.
Everybody knows about the Andalite lack of pride.
They've never torn through walls of Hork-Bajir before. Yeah, they're not in Morph, but that's part of it. But yeah, it's strange. He went through a lot of trouble for a thing that doesn't really make sense.
Well, they are in Battle Morph here.
Oh, that's right, because Jake figures it out. Right, I forgot. You're right.
Yeah, good thing Visser 3 didn't just like gas them or drop the hologram or put any kind of camera in there at all, or you would have seen him morphing human.
Yep, he sure would have figured that one out. I also because he's like, I want to take you alive because everyone will get your Andalites and I'll be really successful and I'll be Visser 1 and whatever. I don't know that Visser 3, it doesn't seem like he would want to let other Yeerks get Andalites. I feel like he would want that for himself.
Yeah, does seem kind of at odds. Like, I get that it's like, if I did that, maybe I could, because he does want to get to be Visser 1, or he says even on the Council of 13, he wants that, and so he might.
Yeah,
But yeah, he absolutely also wants to be the only Andalite. 100%.
You know who's getting one of these Andalites for sure? Visser 1.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be just still Visser 1. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That seems like how that would go. All right. And I like when Rachel calls David a pathetic, gutless weasel.
Yeah, that's pretty good. This whole nested holograms thing.
It's a lot.
The more that I look at I'm just like, yeah, this book definitely confused the hell out of me as a kid. Like, I'm sure I had to reread. I don't have specific memories, but I know that this confused me too. I was like, wait, so the Hork-Bajir are a hologram, but they were inside the people who were a hologram, who is... Yeah. Yeah,
it seems like everything was a hologram. The only thing that's real here is Visser 3 and a podium.
Yeah. Even the driver is a hologram.
Oh, no, then they did say there were some...
Yeah, there were like a
handful. Yeah.
Controllers.
Well, then why not just... Right, because they couldn't get Hork-Bajir in, like, secretly.
Yeah, but they could get a Yeerkpool in.
Yeah. When Mr. 3 is trying to convince David to turn, I love this line. He's like, just think of what you'll be losing out on. He says, you'll never go to one of your human entertainments.
I wouldn't want to give up my human entertainments.
I do love my human entertainments.
Yeah. Because, speaking of which, they mention here that part of the fallout for this happening is that because Marco stayed out like super late to do this mission without permission, he loses TV for a week, which is cruel and unusual. Like, Marco needs his TV, of all people.
Yeah, he needs
Letterman. Can't take TV from Marco.
I agree.
He needs to smack some sense into his dad. Oh, we might.
Oh yeah, no, didn't we find out? He referenced the show and they were like, "How does Axe know about that?"
Well, what it was. Might, in the next Axe book, we might see some Axe and TV. Get yourself excited for that.
I am excited. That's going on a note.
Mm-hmm.
Let's end the book.
Yeah, let's... Oh, actually, I do need... Visser 3 morphs. We have to say what his morph is. It's dark and large and has more arms than it should and has lizard skin. Okay.
Yeah, I was honestly... It happened so fast. I was like... I wasn't even clear if he morphed or into what.
Yeah, no, that's his morph here.
They barely describe it.
Yeah, that is the full description.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
she's like,
let's finish this.
She's just like, I'm tired. I don't know what he fucking morphs into. Use your imagination.
Now, sadly, this is the really interesting part of the book where it gets like good and there's some meat to really sink into.
Yeah, so we're gonna rush through it. Let's just finish up.
Okay. So that night they stake out the barn, and around maybe 3 a.m., David goes eagle and he flies out again. And they're like, all right, yeah, this guy's a fucking traitor. So Tobias goes after him, and Axe and Jake morph to follow. They lose them, so they're like trying to figure out where Tobias and David flew off to. Jake goes to David's house, thinking maybe he went back there. And Axe is outside getting ready to morph because there's Hork-Bajir surveillance, and they're probably going to have company. So Jake flies into the room. He sees David as a golden eagle sitting there in his room watching TV, and he also sees Tobias's mangled body, and David says that he has killed Tobias, so that's why they couldn't find him. There's a confrontation. David attacks Jake too. They start fighting. Some Hork-Bajir break in. Axe shows up, but to rescue them, but they get separated from David. So Jake, knowing that David has gone like full blown traitor, there's this dead bird. He says he's killed Tobias. He says, "Axe, go get Rachel. We need backup." And Jake goes after David himself. He meets him on the roof of the mall. They go lion and tiger, and they have a fight, like David sort of said earlier, foreshadowed. And
Chekhov's lion versus tiger.
That's right, Chekhov's lion versus tiger. And as they're fighting, David gets in a shot on Jake's neck, and he falls through a skylight. And we close out the book on Jake slipping into unconsciousness as he bleeds out. All right. So, David's stuff is coming to a head here.
Yes. We finally get the reveal that David is a full-blown sociopath.
Yes. Yeah. And that really, like, this is really where it comes, because it, like, even, I understand saying, like, listen, I have to get out of here. They're coming to stop me. I fought him, and I, like, legit, I had to fight and kill one of them. I could see writing a story where you put a reasonable character where David is, and he does this same sequence of actions. The problem is that he does end up just being like, I killed him. It was just a bird. Like, fuck off, I don't care. And it's very clear that he has, like, a complete emotional disconnect from this, which is definitely a good choice, because if you don't write it this way, then the Animorphs are 100% the bad guys.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it'd just be like, please just let me go live my life. I don't want to kill you. Like, if you do it that way, then David is kind of the hero here.
Yeah, it almost, I think a longer book, maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like so far, not having read the third one, I feel like all three of these books should have been like Chronicles length books. Like, this could have been like truly great books, I think, if you just gave them much more room to breathe. But and maybe in that, what they could have or should have done is almost drive him to this more, as opposed to him just, like, he's got to have a little bit of it in him to begin with. But you know,
you're
like
saying I have a little bit in me. Is that what you're?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, he's got it, like, being given this power is what's bringing this out of him. Whereas maybe without the power, he's sort of, it's like when you give, you know, when a kid's getting bullied and then like they become the bully. I don't know.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think I think the issue with doing it that way is, like, the Animorphs are in a pretty dark place if that's what they're doing. Like, if you just have the Animorphs come in and say, like, you fight for us now, you're our soldier now, and if you try to leave, we'll fucking kill you. Like, they really, like, that's really dark even for them. Like, the series gets dark, but, like, that would need to be, like, a conclusion to the series, like some kind of, like, fallen. You can't put that at book 20 out of 50 and then just keep going for 30 more books.
Right.
You know, like, at this point, you kind of have to say, but it's justified because David is himself really fucked up.
I mean, look, you know what this is. You know what this is, basically. It's Anakin. He's Anakin, and I mean, that's how you do it. Not that those movies are good, but he's turned to the dark side. He's been corrupted by power. Now, unfortunately, they don't have he needed a Padme. He should have a thing that makes him snap, and he doesn't really have that. He could use the Jar Jar too.
Yeah, no, I do agree on that point. Like, what would you think about if, you know, if instead of doing, like, a trilogy around this David story, if David had just been here for, like, 10 books or something like that, or a dozen books, and they'd slowly built it up, and they'd actually written, like, a David book?
I don't think I want that. Maybe that would have been better, I guess, because maybe David would be more fleshed out and interesting. I just don't know that I really, like, 6 Animorphs is a lot already. I don't know that I would be able to handle a 7th for a big stretch of time. maybe like if he had been introduced as a side character earlier and then he somehow found the cube.
If this was Melissa.
Right. Or yeah, one of those people. Yes. Then
Juan,
I think
Terry.
something like that could have been good, but I don't need this. Maybe that's just but again, it would have been written differently, so, hard to say. But I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. This is what you're saying about time to breathe. I think one of the things, when you look back on the David trilogy as an adult, it is kind of like they do a bunch of crazy stuff with the retreat and the Marriott, but like really the David stuff's the interesting part. They get David, they meet him, they introduce him, they teach him the stuff, and then he betrays them. Like these last couple chapters here are far more memorable than the rest of the book, in terms of like what's gonna draw you fondly back to this series. So like maybe you can do it here if you just shorten the chaotic, insane Marriott scenes and then increase the time you spend on David the character.
And that's what I feel like, again, if this book was just twice as long, you could make that. I mean, that stuff is really interesting. Like government infiltration is cool shit. It's just so much happening. Like I want it to be stretched out. I want the Tom Clancy thing going on with the David thing. I do want it. It's just too much to squeeze into this short of a book.
Yeah, I feel that.
But I liked it a lot more in this book than it felt a lot better than the first one.
It did. Yes, it did. It, like I said, it's much more convoluted here. It's much harder to keep track of all the pieces, but it's also like once you do, it's all like things do happen at a rate and not just like 10 things happened in a single sentence kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, the very end, did we end this book thinking Tobias might be dead? I mean, I don't remember
sort
if they
of.
say
It depends on how gullible you are.
Right. Well, that's what I'm just saying strictly from the reading of the book.
From the reading of the book, yeah, they think he's dead. Like just straight up, they think he's dead at the end.
Listen, I was like, I gasped. I mean, even if he's not dead, just the fact that he just was like, yeah, I fucking murdered him. Like he just goes for it.
Yeah, no,
Visser 3 never did that shit.
There is a dead red-tailed hawk just sitting there, and Jake's like, "What have you done?" David's like, "Oh, I killed him." Like, what do you think I did?
Yeah, it's that whole encounter is very tense and good, and then I mean the lion versus tiger, it's badass.
It is badass. I think all the kids did. Who doesn't want to see the lion versus the tiger?
And the fact that honestly it holds more weight than most, if not all, of the Visser 3 encounters.
Yes, like 100%. 100%.
Feels much more important. The stakes seem higher, and the fact that it's these two people know what's up. They're not in the dark about anything.
Yeah, it's yeah, and none of them are just like, "I'll get you, you Andalite bandit." Like both of them have very clearly defined, like interesting, intertwined motivations. It's good.
Yes. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that after this third book, I don't know, and we'll see. I don't know. You don't have to say. That I don't know what's going to happen because I'm guessing David's not going to be around anymore, but I'm like, they're not going to kill him, right? But I don't, so I don't know. But I don't know that I would have wanted more David before this, but I definitely want more David after this. Like I hope he sticks around in some capacity just because the concept of this kind of rivalry of like an ex-Animorph or a vigilante Animorph kind of, he's kind of like the Venom to Spider-Man or something, I just think there's so much you can explore with that relationship. And yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping book 3 does it really well, or maybe he somehow, or he's like, I don't know, he's like the Hannibal Lecter. They got to keep him locked up. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you solve this problem, honestly, from a storytelling perspective or from the perspective of like, hey, Applegate writing a kid's book. I don't know how they wrap this up.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for your reaction since I do know how they wrap all this up.
Yeah.
I do know what happens here. Yeah, no, exciting, and I will be looking back at your words here and assessing them in the context of the future.
We'll
All
find
right,
out.
I have ideas here.
Not much longer.
Now, I'm gonna highlight a line because it's important at the start of the next book, which is a Rachel book. And I didn't mind doing this after your wrap up because this is going to be the conclusion here, since it leads in. So when Jake tells Axe to go get Rachel for backup, he says, "I think Tobias is dead. I think David killed him." And Axe says, "That would be a most terrible thing." And Jake says, "Yeah, get Rachel. If David's killed Tobias, we may have to do a terrible thing too. Get Rachel." So
yeah, this is Rachel's job.
This is Rachel's job. So just keep that, because that line is thematically important and will be immediately referenced at the very beginning of the next book.
Whatever you do, don't get Cassie.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rachel is for the hardcore shit.
Yeah, this shit's hype, man. The shit is hitting the fan. It is going off.
This shit is going down.
I feel like, more to your point, and also to my point from earlier, 2 points. If this were an HBO series, I was going to say if this were a TV show, but I know it was one. If this were like a good TV show, like a real TV show, like the David arc would definitely have to be a season. This isn't 3 episodes. Like if you were doing this in a modern television format, you have to have David for the whole season, I think, to really have this have an impact.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is the events of this book take place over this whole trilogy is like, so far it's been 48 hours in 2 books.
I guess, yeah, I think you would
one
do
of the issues.
What you said. I think you would write him into the show for earlier missions.
Yeah.
I think that was spot on, which for some reason I think I would like better on a show than having to read him in these books. I just don't feel like getting into his perspective. I don't care. Okay. Listen, just remember, listeners, if it weren't for you, this would have been over 10 minutes ago. But we do have to do pop culture quickly. Of course, this all takes place at the Marriott Resort. Now, probably not a direct reference, but Marco does say "insane in the membrane." It did make me think of that song.
It probably is. Maybe is.
I don't know if that's just a phrase. They did steal a T-shirt that has a Grateful Dead logo on it for David. I think K-Op gets a bit of a deadhead.
Probably, yeah. She mentioned that age.
There was a deadhead at the concert they went to that had seemingly every type of concert at it. Marco says, "Can Michael Jordan hit a 3-pointer?" They have security at the Marriott that looks like it would make Fort Knox look like a Walmart during a clearance sale. Marco sings, "Off we go into the wild blue yonder, flying high into the sun."
Can I interject on this one? I used to get that song stuck in my head as a kid because of this part. Because I was like, I don't know the fucking Air Force song, so I had to look up how to sing it, and then for years it would occasionally pop into my head, just that's the song Marco sings.
You would get along with my dad because my dad is old and he stopped listening to music in the 60s. And there's 3 songs that for my entire life he would just he would start to whistle or hum, and this is one of them. So, yeah. And Marco, by the way, says this is from some old movie on the Movie Channel about Air Force pilots, and Movie Channel is capitalized. The Movie Channel.
Yeah, this isn't whatever it was, Turner Classic Movies or whatever the fuck. This is the Movie Channel.
Damn right. When they're seagulls, they go, "Hey, whoa, Pizza Hut." They get there, and as you said, they say it looks like Men in Black around here. Timely reference, because Men in Black was just a year before this book.
Now, actually, should point out, he says it looks like Men in Black 2.
Wait, what? No, he doesn't.
He does. He says Men in Black 2.
He does?
Yeah. No, he absolutely does.
2 was not out, so he was making a joke then.
Wasn't it? I thought 2 was out, literally at the time this book came out.
I'm almost positive the first Men in Black came out in 97. I don't think we got Men in Black 2 till like post 9/11. Which is, as you know,
sure?
how I measure things. Of course I'm not sure, but now I will look it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it in my copy right now. It says Men in Black 2.
Could I be more right? Came out in 2002.
Well, then I guess he's just like, this is the sequel. It's the number 2. It's not the numeral.
This is like if they were on a sinking boat and he was like, whoa, it's Titanic 2 in here, I think.
I just assumed it had come out already, but I guess not.
No, man. No, Men in Black is like hot right now. Like that is.
I guess that's true.
Fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, he says Men in Black 2.
That's weird. Yeah, I didn't.
That is weird.
Okay. Which, and by the way, also made me think like Men in Black is pretty similar in some ways to this. It's like kind of the same. I mean, the concept of Men in Black had been around forever, but anyway, there's similar vibes. We'll review that on our Patreon.
Aliens, for example.
Right. In fact, there's aliens. This is not the first time we mentioned Men in Black in this podcast. Someone says, "Oh, the evil rays feels like a full body dentist visit without Novocaine." Again, Novocaine.
Yeah.
I heard Letterman got canceled. Is that true? No more Dave? Of course Letterman wasn't canceled. That was just their little secret signal on the phone. But they also are Dave heads. Marco's converted them. They're flying around. They see Taco Bell, Mickey D's, and a Holiday Inn. They say maybe he had a craving for a Big Mac.
Could go for a Big Mac.
The rest of us more fleas and climb on board like we're flying Delta.
Oh, yeah?
Cassie's towering above me like the World Trade Center. Uh-oh.
Yeah, hope she doesn't fall on him.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
This part confused me. They're bugs right now, and he says like he was a Piper Cub, which is like a kind of plane, and I was an F. He says like I'm an F something.
F-16.
F-16. Yeah. I don't know what I had to look that up. I don't know what a Piper Cub is.
I had to look it up too. But Jake, see, this is what I'm saying. Jake's a military history guy now.
I guess
he knows what a Piper Cub is.
I guess. He goes to the library and reads about that shit. We're the ones sitting here while you go zipping around playing Top Gun, says Marco. Little did they know that would come back again years later. Cassie directly references a thing and says, did anyone ever read the Miss Spider books? Miss Spider's Tea Party, Miss Spider's New Car. This could be Miss Spider Goes Flying.
Cassie's kind of a nerd.
Did you ever read the Miss Spider books?
I didn't.
I don't know if I read them, but I definitely remember the cover art. Like I vividly remember those books existing.
Oh yeah, I remember that cover art.
It was pretty good, pretty memorable style. I wonder if Kay Applegate was maybe friends with the author or something.
Oh, it could be.
That seems like
maybe Miles or Coleman wrote it.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you should look up Miss Spider.
Yeah, I'm not
okay, me either. And it ended up being like a Three Stooges movie, they say, which is what I said about the last book. So at least we're getting self-aware. This one was weird. I think this is one of the like Secret Service guys is talking to a reporter. This was the
bellhop. I know who you're talking to.
Oh,
no, this is like the bellhop guy was talking to some, I guess, a reporter who was coming into the resort.
Yeah, I was confused. I thought maybe it was Marco at first, but it's Bellman. Says, you know who else is hot? Bobby Batista. She's CNN. So I Googled this because I was like, is this a real person?
There's a whole series of these you skipped.
There is?
He has a whole conversation.
With pop culture references?
He's like, so you work for CBS News, huh? Yep. You know Cokie Roberts? I guess that's how you pronounce it. She's at ABC. Oh yeah, so do you know her? Nope, but I know Dan Rather. But that Cokie though, she's hot. I mean, for a news person and all, she's hot. And then later on, he says, you know who else is hot? Bobby Batista. You know her? And she's CNN.
I swear, I don't know.
It's like a whole shtick.
I either blacked out or I swear that's not in my version of the book.
That's a whole shtick.
I'm going to blame the transcribers of my ebook because I swear to you I did not read any of that.
It's really good.
If it's in there, then I don't know what happened. I fell asleep or had a stroke.
You're just gonna sit around and try to talk at this news person about all the newscasters he wants to bang who don't even work at his company.
Yeah, I mean, I love this, and I really am upset that I didn't read that or I forgot it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But I did look up Bobby Batista. She's not that hot. They mentioned the Marine.
Yeah, same. I looked both of them up. I was like, I don't know. Maybe for a news person.
Right. Slim Pickens back in the 90s. They didn't have a lot on TV back then. They mentioned the Marine one. I'm still counting it as a reference. They say the place was lit up like a Monday Night Football game. It is capitalized, so Monday Night Football. This part I thought was strange. Jake sees a brown UPS truck and says, I'd never seen a UPS truck parked on the street before. You haven't?
Well, just like all night, maybe?
I guess.
I mean, you're right. Like, they're parked on the street all the time, but...
It's very weird. And then finally, of course, this big lion-tiger fight is on the roof of the mall, which makes it even cooler. Mm-hmm. And he sees the Walden books and the Baby Gap beside it.
Walden! That's where I would have bought this book. It was at Walden.
Wow. And don't they go crashing through the skylight at the end?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
But that's my mall. I went to the mall to Walden Books to buy this, and they saw Walden Books in the mall too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm sure that excited 9-year-old me a lot.
Yeah, I was more about that part with the bare legs. We're not talking about Rachel here.
We are not talking about Rachel's new fashion, yeah.
No. Jake might be, but that's his problem.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for listening. If you want to make our show even longer, you can send us an email just like Spam Viking and Nick by emailing us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. I don't care if it's about a recent book we discussed or the first book. Any question or comment you have, you want to hear us discuss Animorphs-wise, write it in. And you can find me at my website, jonathanestis.com, where I have other podcasts and cool stuff that you might like, including I just wrote some newsletters about some Batman board games.
Sounds really cool.
And hold on, tease.
Whoa.
I'm working on, it might be out by the time on my YouTube channel. I'm working on a little something about the Insidious franchise.
Whoa. That's a tease for me.
So if you like listening to me talk about dumb shit, check it out.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in. No, you're not fucking anywhere. Don't find me.
Well, soon you'll be on Blue Sky. I'm going to set that up for you.
Okay. Soon I will be on Blue Sky, and you'll be able to find me there under some iteration of Dog Times McGee or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be talking about Book 22, The Solution, in which Rachel turns into a rat on the Yerpy Boys.